How's it going? It's 10:23 p.m. on the night that this is due. That's all. So I did a little monomyth poster for specifically the first Star Wars, episode 4, because you can get all mixed up with the Star Wars timelines, which has the clearest hero's journey. And it was fun. I know I'm super basic, but I really like Luke Skywalker. And he has one of the most compelling hero's journeys, even though you can like track it pretty easily. And it's also basically the same as Harry Potter's. So once we get there, that'll be fun. But for now, we're gonna talk about Luke's hero's journey. So Luke's call to adventure is Princess Leia's "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope" message. Before that, he was just like a guy on Tatooine who dreamed of adventure but was stuck where he was. The refusal of the call is when Luke feels obligated to stay on Tatooine and help with the harvest because his uncle is counting on him. He feels like he can't just take off on an adventure no matter how badly he wants to. A couple of different supernatural aids. Of course, you have the Force. It's a pretty obvious one. You have Anakin's lightsaber that comes in handy a couple of times. And then you also have Old Ben, or Obi-Wan Kenobi. And kind of his, like, he's always saving Luke's butt. So he counts as supernatural aid, and he's also like the mentor. The crossing of the first threshold is when Luke's aunt and uncle die, and Luke commits to going with Obi-Wan to rescue Princess Leia. And I'm not really sure if there is a threshold guardian. Maybe if you wanted to count the Mos Eisley Cantina as the first threshold, you could count the guy that gets his arm chopped off. But, I mean, I think that when Luke's aunt and uncle die fits better for the, that light was bothering me, the crossing of the first threshold. A couple different Belly of the Whales. First of all, if you want to like put it strictly in chronological order, you have the Cantina would be next. The Mos Eisley Cantina, where the guy gets his arm chopped off and Luke kind of realizes that he's really in for it. If you wanted to choose one a little bit later and a little bit more obvious in the story, you have the Trash Compactor. Yeah, that one's pretty obvious. I'm sorry, my brain is dying. Road of Trials. You have the training with the lightsaber. Luke doesn't really get the hang of it yet, and like Han doesn't believe in him, and he like it's just issues, and he doesn't actually ever really use the lightsaber in the first movie, which I think is interesting. You also have the rescue mission. Could be a very easy Road of Trials, just because they kind of go in completely blind, and they kind of make it up as they go. Love it. Meeting with the Goddess is Luke meets Leia. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's really weird when you remember that they're brother-sister, but no one knew that in the first movie, so we're gonna pretend that they never happened. Woman as Temptress. There really isn't a woman as a Temptress necessarily, but there is the dark side of the Force is always there tempting Luke. So I kind of counted that, like the dark side, and Darth Vader kind of being the tempting part. Atonement with the Father, it's kind of like mirrors each other, because I think it's when Obi-Wan sacrifices himself and when Vader kills him. because atonement doesn't necessarily mean it has a happy ending. And so, like, Vader killing his old mentor is kind of like finally putting that part of his past behind him, and Obi-Wan killing, or like Obi-Wan letting himself be killed, is like him accepting that Vader has become too powerful for him to ever be able to defeat. So, and then it also like, I could go into this whole thing about Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan also has a really, I love Obi-Wan. I could talk about him all day, but I won't. Apotheosis is when Luke uses the Force finally to destroy the Death Star, and the ultimate boon is the Death Star destroyed. And then going a little bit deeper into that with the return. The refusal of the return is right after they rescue Princess Leia, and Luke joins the rebels instead of just like turning around and going back home to Tatooine. Magic flight is the trench run. It's pretty self-explanatory. They're flying in spaceships. Rescue from without is when Han comes with the Millennium Falcon and he rescues him from Darth Vader. The crossing of the return threshold is after Luke blows up the Death Star and like comes and like lands, like when he comes back to the Rebel base and like R2-D2's all destroyed. It makes me sad, and he yells "Carrie!" If you notice in the movie, he like jumps down from his X-wing and is so excited to see Carrie Fisher, who's playing Princess Leia. He yells "Carrie!" It's really funny. Side tangent. Master of Two Worlds is the victory ceremony, and Freedom to Live is the victory over the Empire. So, pretty easily trackable, but that's one of the reasons I feel like why Star Wars is so compelling and why so many people relate to it, is because they're able to, it's basically a modern myth. It's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and it's supposed to be like this story of old. So in a way, Luke is a Hercules. He is a King Arthur. He is like even later in the sequels, like he becomes a legend. Like he is Luke Skywalker, like Jedi Master. So I think that because that's like one of the reasons why this version of the hero's journey is so compelling, because first of all, it's in a very unique setting, and then second of all, the characters you just are so endearing and you just click with them right away and you really care about them. Yeah, so that was my Star Wars analysis. Looking forward to do more. Love Star Wars. Know a lot about Star Wars. Cool. Alright. Good night. And may the Force be with you.